Real thoughts, real trades, real journey. A video journal documenting the lessons learned on my journey to becoming a disciplined trader. Welcome to Trading the Journey. I'm Neil, and today I want to share a trading day that taught me one important lesson. Let's see what the market had to teach me. So today, as always, was kind of interesting. I had a bearish bias, but I took trades that went against the bias. And the reason why I took them against the bias in the first place was because of the amount of downtrend that I was seeing overall. Normally, I probably wouldn't go against my bias, but I was looking for reversals. Since I wasn't getting my fence trade, it just shot straight down. It really didn't give me anything. So I was waiting, and since it was dropping rapidly, I was first looking for a waterfall. I was looking for a reversal in the 1 minute chart. Wasn't really getting it. And then I switched back to the 2 minute chart, was looking for one on there. And so I entered in the first trade of the day. That trade turned out to be a loss because I really didn't wait for another reversal to happen. And in a way, I got in late on this. In a way, thinking about it, thinking how I felt, it felt a little bit like FOMO, fear of missing out. I quickly got in the trade, and that trade turned on me. Not that I was afraid of taking a loss, but it was like, oh my gosh, I gotta get in on this. What if it reversed? But the other thing that happened was that I didn't feel any attachment to that trade at all as well. If I lost, I lost. That was the end of it. So there was that. There had been a couple other opportunities here. There was another bearish engulfing I could have gotten in on, and probably would have turned out to be a free trade if I had, depending on where I put my stop. But I missed that opportunity, but the reason why I missed that opportunity was, of course, because of all these long upper wicks that I was seeing. I didn't feel comfortable trading. There was just something that kept me from getting in on that trade. So I skipped it. And I kept thinking, maybe I should have gotten in on it. Maybe I should have tried. I was prepared to take another loss. I was prepared to take another trade because I didn't oddly feel any emotional attachment to the trade that I did lose. So I considered the fence dead, waterfall possibility. It was just very rapid that this happened, and it continued just a little bit further. I did make in my notes, of course, stupid me for not waiting. There was another, like I said, there was another setup, but I skipped it. The bulls were fighting. Bears were fighting. It was pretty much a bloodbath at the bottom there. But in the end, on that first trade, there was a slight disappointment in how I played this. Even though I didn't feel an emotional attachment to it, it was there. I just took the hit on the chin and moved on. That was it. The next trade that I got in on was right here. And this one was a strong trade like the first one that I lost. I was prepared to take another loss regardless, and this was my last trade of the day, no matter what happened. But I was prepared to take another loss. This was a strong candle close to the upside. where the bull candle took over the bear candle. We had we had a hammer here. We had another long wick here, another one where the buyers had come in. We have an inverted hammer, and then we have this bull hammer right here. That's I got in on. There was no lag on that one, thank goodness, because the lag was kind of nerve-wracking a little bit seeing that slippage. So I got in on this trade, and I was watching it, and my heart kind of did pound just a little bit. But I was cheering the bulls on. And just when I thought I was going to lose the trade, the market proved me wrong. You know, there was this bear candle here. I was like, okay, it's gone. But then the bulls would come back and start fighting again. And then there were these candles where there were just all these wicks. It was getting messy in that little consolidation, but you can see where the trend was starting to turn up in that regard. But I ended up getting in on a really, really good price. And, a couple of instances here is another instance. These, doji candles here were it was toying with my emotions. It was just toying with me. This candle here was exciting, I thought, bulls came right back in, strong closed above my 1-to-1, so I moved my stop up. And then this candle was just playing with me again. I thought I was going to get stopped out, and I said to myself, and I even noted it, how many times has this closed at my 1-to-1 and then stopped me out at break even? It's happened a number of times, and that in and of itself is quite flippin' annoying. And then there's this massive bull candle that was like one tick from my 1.5 risk reward. And then this next candle closed above 1.5. And I moved my stop. I actually moved my stop up on the candle that was just one tick below 1.5. I moved my stop up to protect that 1-to-1. Actually, I think my thing here was a little inaccurate, like where my stop and entry was. It was a kind of around here because it didn't stop me out at all on my 1-to-1. It came close, but it didn't stop me out. As you can see, the candle, the trade went in my favor. I got a very strong 2-to-1 win out of it. And that was it. I closed it down for the day. I was done for the day regardless. Prepared to take a second loss, ended up coming out a winner and ended up with a green day. A small green day is a base hit, and the great thing about this was that the emotions didn't take over. They were there, but I didn't let it dictate what to do. I still followed the rules no matter what. And the lesson here is of course, it goes to show, you never give up. You always play your game, win or lose. As long as you play your game, you make your trade, you follow your plan, you follow your rules for that trade, no matter what happens, you can hold your head up high. That's the takeaway from this. And I can safely say, regardless, even with this loss here, I was still able to hold my head high, and not get emotional about that loss. So I walked away pretty happy about the way I traded today. No regrets, nothing. Thank you for joining me for today's lesson. The market has voted. Today's lesson is written. I hope something from today's trade helps you on your own journey toward becoming a more disciplined trader. If today's trade reminded you of something you've experienced yourself, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed today's journal entry, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button on the video and subscribe to follow the journey. Until next time, real thoughts, real trades, real journey.